I was young.
I have this text of you where you said, at times surviving is the wrong answer. To understand the social being, at times we should not survive. The responsibility of culture is not to be found in offering survival strategies, but in giving survival a sense. And this is what you wrote, right?
Yes, I was young.
Yeah.
Tania gave a lecture on what it means to be a political artist. And at the end of every page, she picked up a gun, held it to her head, and fired. I was incapacitated with horror. What good is a dead political artist?
I was the daughter of a diplomat, so I was traveling all over, France, Lebanon, Panama, and that is what really created this relationship I have with Cuba. That is a constant tension between the dream place, motivated by what I heard my parents telling foreigners what Cuba was, and the actual life in it, where it has nothing to do with the projections and the propaganda that they were doing. My relationship with Cuba has always been a little ubiquitous, even when I'm present. And it's because it is a constant negotiation between desire and reality. And that's a tension that happens all the time. And for me as an artist to try to put reality into desire is maybe one of the motivation of my work in a way. Before I went to school in the Francophone school in Lebanon. So I learned Arabic and French, and I forgot Spanish. So my mom had to teach me Spanish at home, so I didn't forget. Then I forgot French and Arabic, and I spoke Spanish. So, and then I went to a school that was at the time very, very good, because it had very avant-garde artists teaching. It was the elemental art school, Escuela Elemental, and this is where I met the person that influenced me the most in all my career, in all my thinking about art, and his name is Juan Francisco Elso. He was my professor, and I always remember that because my parents were going through divorce, and my head was very, very charged with human issues, and I remember I was doing the drawing like really fighting with the pencil and then Elso took me by the shoulder, put me back. He said, "Let's go out and talk." And then he told me something that really influenced me, which is art can help you understand life. And by him saying that, it totally shaped my way I see art, And he said just maybe because he wanted me to understand that the fight was not with the paper, but how to use all of these thinking mechanism that you acquire through doing art as a way to think about your own life and try to solve it in a way through this. And I think that really influenced me a lot. And that has been the person who influenced me the most in my whole, because I was 13 years old when I heard that. Yeah, I started at 12. And by 25, I was tired of it. Maybe this is why I don't like so much art. But I love art history. I love understanding the whole process of the history of art. But yeah, and also I try everything. I did painting. I wasn't good at it. And I wasn't good because I didn't understand what it was about. And I did the sculpture. I was good at sculpture, and I liked it a lot, but I got bored. Then I did printing, and I really like printing because it really changed my way. I graduated from printing, actually, and I really like it because it changed my approach on the uniqueness of art And maybe this is why it's so easy for me to repeat a work and do it differently and try new things. I guess the philosophy there was enjoy art, try us to understand. For example, with Elso, we went to the countryside because he was very good friend with Ana Mendieta, and then we went to the countryside and he told us, do art here. And we were like, what? We don't have a canvas, you know? And they say, no, you can do art anywhere with anything. So we start creating like rural sculptures and things with the elements of the, you know, nature. So I think that school was more about finding the pleasure of doing the practice of art. So at 15-year-old, I had a huge fight with my mom and my father because I said, I really like this. This is what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do all my life. And they didn't want me because at the time I had really good notes. So my father wanted me to be a scientist. And my mother wanted anything but art. Doesn't matter, you know. She said, you can do art history maybe, so you don't have to deal with. And part of what happened is like they had a very bad image of the art. They thought every person was a whore, or you know, like, or bad person, or drunk, and you know.
How come they had that kind of image?
Because that's the image everybody has about art. Like, ask anybody. What is an artist? Oh, a drunk or a drug addict, or you know what I mean? So this is the popular view of an art, I think, in a way. Like, this is not serious. I'm going to be dying of famine. And, you know, I'm not, what is success in art? You have to die first. You know, this is the 80s. So they had this idea that it was not a good life for me. But I was very persistent. And I win that battle, and I'm here.
So you could convince them?
I convinced them. My father says something very bad for me because he say, then if you're going to do it, you have to be the best. And this is impossible because there is no best in art. So he was using a parameter that didn't work. So now I'm liberated from that, but it was a big pressure for a long time, you know. Yeah, and my mother was more like, just be happy. Make sure that you're happy. I don't think I'm happy, and I don't think I'm the best, but here I am.
Is it true that you changed your name?
Yeah, my family name, yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because by the time I was in high school, I had a very different view of what was happening in Cuba. My father was, because he was a diplomat and he was a vice minister of foreign relationship, he lived in a bubble where if they were sick, they bring them the medicine, if they bring them food. I mean, they were taken care of by the government. And they were really, really distant from the life everybody else was living. And I was living every Cuban life because my mother, when they divorced, of course, she lost all the privileges and everything, so we were living a normal life. Better than most, because we had a good apartment and, you know. But yeah, so I was always mad and fighting because I was telling him what I saw in my reality when we met. And so yeah, so I decided to, it was very simple. I took the S out of, it's only one letter, but he was very pissed off. Because he's like, oh, no, you're not my daughter. I'm like, no, I'm not. So, I don't know. At the time I was conceptual artist, I guess. I like very much conceptual art. And that gave me the possibility of moving across different practices, but also different reiteration of art. Because I could use anything that will help me communicate the idea as an art element. So in that case, I wanted to talk about a previous generation of artists in the 80s who were expelled from Cuba, like I was now. And I wanted to do something to remember them. So I thought, oh, maybe I should do a magazine because, you know, I said, no, maybe I should do a newspaper because a newspaper nothing has permanence because every day is a different news and it has the importance. So I like this idea of the erasure of history, constant erasure of history. But what I didn't know is that it was forbidden by the law to print newspapers in Cuba. It's still, 30 years later, it's still the same law. So I kind of violated the law by mistake, but I had a meeting with the head of culture, visual culture, and I was fighting in aesthetic arguments, saying this is an artwork, and he said no, it's libellos, and so whatever. So we had different opinion because he saw it as a mainly political project, and for me it was mainly a nostalgic project and a fun project, And then later I discover not only that I have violated 3 laws, and one of the 3 laws is the use of resources of the state, and that included the people who printed it. But also in the discussion he said, it's not about that. It's like we are not going to permit that you create a group. Because the thing they're most afraid of is people uniting for whatever. Whether it is to have parties or to defend the trees, whatever. It's just they're very afraid of people organizing. And then they say, well, you can't do this anymore. I say, okay. And then I run from that meeting to the place where I was printing the second issue. Because I really liked it. I had a blast doing it, And then I printed the second issue, and that was bad. And my father came to the house and say, give me all the issues that you have. But by then it's funny because sometimes I live in a movie in my head. So I was like, oh, I'm doing something bad now. So I was distributing to other people's house the copies. So I had in my house only like 20 copies. So my father came and say, give me all the copies. But it's interesting to see somebody you love becoming a policeman. It's very strange to be treated by the person who's supposed to protect you as the enemy. So it was quite complicated to have that, but that's also one phase of Cuba where you don't know who, even in your family, is going to betray you for their survival or for their ambition or for whatever. Sometimes it's survival, So unfortunately, a country that's supposed to be full of heroic gestures is full of, coward gestures, because the correct thing would be for him to let me know how the system works, and or maybe take the, but nobody there takes the blame for others, and this is a big problem we have.
But what did he do? Did he bring you to police?
Then yes. Then I gave him whatever I had in the house, and he said, "Well, let's go have a tour, like a vamos una vuelta, no? Like let's go have a, And then I hop in the car, stupidly thinking, oh, maybe we're going for lunch or to his house to spend some time together, because I haven't seen him in a while because he was still an ambassador, so he was not living in Cuba. So, and I was like, oh, great, I know I'm going with him, and everything stopped. And then he brought me to this place where there were 2 officers of the secret police, Minister of Interior, and he was there during the whole interrogation. I kind of suppressed that for a long time, and it came out at some point unexpectedly, the memory of that. And then I shared this with other friends in Cuba, horrified, and they were all taking it so naturally. And I learned later that this is something that has been done with other people. Like when the father or the mother is in a kind of government position, they themselves volunteer. And I have friends who have told me. And even some people say, oh, he did it to protect you, because he was there, so probably he was softer or whatever. But he didn't do it to protect me. He did it to protect himself. And also, the other battle we had that I gained as well is that at some point he wanted me to collaborate with the police. And this is why my mother is so important, because my mom had a very critical position about what was happening in Cuba. And she sat down and she said to me, if you do it once, you will have to do it forever. People who enter that never leave. I was freaking out. I didn't want to do this, and my father was pushing. Like, no, you have to go to the meeting, and at the end, I decided to leave the country. So I went to study an MFA in the United States. At the beginning, when they want to co-opt you, they are not being aggressive. They are being, they always start like, how's your family? How you feeling? Like if they care about you, And then they start saying like, did you go to this, let's say, this opening at ZKM? Did you see this? What this person was saying? What they were talking about? Like very nice, like you are not doing anything wrong. But of course I knew this is wrong. So what I decided, this is my anger with them, because I was a very happy person. And because of them, my happiness has been disappearing slowly. Because part of it is I was young and I was going to every event and I loved doing art stuff and collaborating with people. You need a performer? Okay, I'll do it with you and whatever. And then slowly, because of this, I had to start not going to things, not meeting with people, not helping people with the work, because I didn't want to know anything. Because the only way, if they call me again, is I don't know anything. I wasn't there, And that was not what I wanted to do, So I felt also that the only option is to leave, to disappear, Because it was not every week or anything like that, but they could call you at any time. And you had to go, And then I pretended I'm crazy, or I have no memory, or something like this, or I don't know, and I haven't seen anything, I don't know, so I'm not useful. But they always go like after you. So after 2-3 times, I say, okay, I'm leaving. I can't have this pressure. What they do is they pretend, bear with me because I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but this is things that are being proof what I'm saying. They have folders, let's say, files on people. And what is interesting, sometimes they know before yourself who you are. Like for example, they knew I was going to be trouble before I knew it. So they were taking steps to prevent or to co-opt me. Let's do a show with you in the National Museum. Like they were trying to buy artists in Cuba. So they stay calm. So they stay, on their side. They buy them by, not in my case because my work is not very sellable, has never been. So, but with other artists, what they do is they introduce them to collectors. Or for example, there is what we call the blacklist in Cuba, where we know that the artists that are problematic are not in the list. So when collectors or, for example, American museums come to Cuba to meet artists, if you're not in the list, they never go to see your art studio. So these are the ways they try to manipulate artists. I received the National Culture Award from the government. The only reason I took the medal was because I wanted my father and my mother to be proud, because I'm not rich, I'm not, And it's like, you see, I'm not bad. But the same day they give the medal, I saw the image they used to make example of the work. It was a piece I did criticizing the government. And then I realized, okay, symbolism is not good because it could be manipulated very easily because the meaning can be changed very easily. So after that time, I wanted to work with direct reference to reality. and to work directly in reality, so there's no way to change what is happening. But then when I did the 2014 project at the Revolution Square, the people from the visual arts, the Minister of Culture, decided not to work with me anymore. So they said, that's not our problem. Now you go to the Ministry of Interior. And I think that was interesting because they didn't know who I was. Like people in the arts, they kind of knew that I've been in Documenta, what Documenta means. I've been in 5 Venice Biennale, like, you know, and they kind of understood what that meant. People in the Ministry of Interior had no idea who I was, and they treat me like a dissident, meaning no rights at all, no rights. I had no rights, and I was a non-person. And it's funny because in one of the interrogation sessions, Kenya, the main interrogator, told me, we are never going to put you in prison because we don't want you to be Ai Weiwei. And I say, I don't want to be Ai Weiwei. So I was, I don't want to, like, so I was very offended, like, what do you mean I don't want to be Ai Weiwei, I want to be me, like, you know. But that actually shows you how a conscious they are of what they're doing. You know, how they know how to, you know, how to also eliminate somebody, because instead of being in jail, which would be everybody outraged because Tania is in jail and it's mobilized, what they did is put me in house arrest. So I was in my house, I couldn't go out, not even to buy food. They didn't allow the neighbors. I had some neighbors who like came and gave me some food and stuff, but they didn't allow people to come. And they put the neighbors against me, so they didn't help me. So it was a different, and that's the thing with Cuba. Cuba kills you in a different way. Yes, in other places they kill activists, they kill the journalists. Here they kill you mentally and socially, and they take the whole humanity out of you. So it's horrible to be like, killing somebody is the worst, but at the same time it's a way of killing you because you have no social environment. They do this by talking bad about you with everybody to put you in, you know. Then you have no job, so you have no means, so you become really poor and poor. Sometimes they even put you against your family. Sometimes some activists, the family expel them from the house, so you become like a homeless or whatever. So I think it's a very different way. They also have killed some people, but it's very well done. Cuba is set up in a way that everything you do is illegal. Everything is illegal. So we always say in Cuba that you never know the past that awakens you, because you do everything illegal, whether it is you sell the rice that is given the rationnement card and you change this for cigars or whatever, like all of these things, everything is illegal. You buy dollars and it's illegal, everything is illegal. Or some people take stuff from the office, for example, like, oh, you take a package of paper from the office and you sell it to some professor, because they don't have it in his school, or he can have an extra classes so he can be paid extra, whatever. You know, so everything is this kind of economy where you are a delinquent. So it's perfect, because when they want to incriminate you, you have done so many things that are wrong already, you know. When you are decided, when they decide you are a dissident, they create the past for you. And all of a sudden you were a bad mother if you have a kid, or you were a bad wife and you had like lovers, and then you were unfaithful to your husband, or, you know, they start creating whatever, you know. Or you stole something from a job you were in, because everybody does it. Everybody's like, yeah, of course they did it, you know. So it's easy to believe, you know. So it's, that's why I always say to activists in Cuba to be kind of a saint, you know, like you can do anything, because you want to be taken into jail for what you believe, not because you did some stupid thing, you know. The thing is, totalitarian regimes, they want to be involved in everything. And it's so weird because, for example, last year we did an alternative, the fourth edition of an alternative film festival that we do with independent art films from Cuba and so on. And we did it in a moment that coincided for 2 days or something with the festival they do in Havana. Oh my God, we were in the national TV, like as a provocateur, because we coincide 2 days with their, like they always want to be part of every story, you know? And in a way, the most subversive thing is to do something that you don't talk about them. You know, they get really pissed off because they want to be in every story about everything with everybody, you know? When I did the project in the Revolution Square, because they wanted, and they do this all the time, they wanted to be in control of the meaning of the work. But remember when I said before that I stopped doing symbolic things because I understood this could be manipulated. So because what I wanted is to put a microphone in the Revolution Square, and I invited every Cuban to come and say what is the country they would like to have. This is not symbolic. This is very straight. So they couldn't change it, you know? But there was a big fight between us because they wanted to say what my goal was, my desire was. I'm like, no, you can't do that. And also I said to them, you have a different approach because you want to do a traditional theater play. I'm the bad person, and I'm the same bad person that existed in 1960. So I'm not a specific bad person, it's the same character. You are the same good people because you're saving the revolution that you have been doing for 60 years. So it's not, you know, and they even had a specific text that they say that I said. And I said, I never say that. But this is the same text they use all the time, you know, for everything. So I always said to them that we had an aesthetic misunderstanding because they wanted to do traditional theater and I wanted to do performance. And performance is the opposite. It's free. You can't control anything. Everything that happens is part of the story. That's what I did at the beginning of the interrogations because, you know, what else can I do? You know, my only thing is art. So I was talking artistic language. But the more and 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 the more that we did these interrogations, the less and the less they allowed that, you know, because they really wanted to push me to be a dissident. Why? Because this is an easy position for them. And all the time what I was doing is trying to generate a different way of relate with free expression and dissent. At the moment I was doing a lot of like lecture performances format. And in this case, again, putting this in context, this was a time when political art was not cool and it was not popular. So I felt like a little alone in this conversation. So I wanted to call attention to the idea of politics. I was trying to say that if you're going to be political, you needed to go to the end consequence, the end, you know. And for me, the most, illustrative way to say that was by giving the most precious thing, which is life, you know. And I also wanted this idea of art, like you say in the quote, art not to be something forever, you know, and political art to be something that needs to be done from the now and here. And then, of course, the universal condition of that will be because the effectiveness this had on people at the time, at the place, not because you pretended to be universal. So I really liked this idea of looking for the specificity of the political, not the generic of the political, you know. And I was kind of making a call for artists to go into the political, you know.
But this is really like art as a sacrifice, as a kind of Märtyrer.
Okay.
Do you see it like that?
Yes, and I would not do it again. And actually somebody called me because they wanted to redo it as a homage, and I say, no, I don't authorize this. Because this is a responsibility. I do it myself, doesn't matter, but somebody else is a big responsibility. But I think it was a way of cut attention to the sacrifice you have to do when you do political art. You know, maybe because of my whole experience in Cuba, whatever, maybe it's a different degree of intensity than to other people, but I also feel that you can, it's the same here, like for example, I have this tattoo, no? It's almost a tattoo I did to go back to Cuba. It's like, okay, you have to kill death. You have to, you know, you cannot be afraid, you know? And the thing is that sometimes when people do political art, is you can't be afraid, you know? This is the same, do you see it? It's the same, it's a death. Yeah. Playing the Russian roulette. Like it's death killing itself, you know. And this is something that I put on myself to remind me every time I go to Cuba. I had to be able to not be afraid, you know. And not be afraid meaning be willing to lose everything, even what you want the most. Because when you do political art and when you deal with Ministry of Interiors of anywhere in the world, not only in Cuba, what they want is to work on your desires. They want to know your desires so they can manipulate you. So you can't have any desire if you want to do a political artist, but the desire of achieve what you want politically. Yeah.
That's funny.
You know, the irony is when I'm doing interrogation sessions, they call it interviews.